You can't mind fuck yourself out of your emotional wounds is something I wrote down 2 years ago on a piece of paper. I had an idea then that, yes, of course, I understand that to be true because I know compassion is in the forefront, but I had no idea that today would come, that this time would come where I had people coming to me, clients showing up in tears, literally sobbing and saying, I hate myself because I can't change my mind, as they're recovering from mindset coaching or the like. This is a tough video for me to make as a part 2 to my first one. And because, you know, we're off track here. The pandemic came along to heal people in the masses. We were supposed to be healing our emotional wounds, which is a path. It's a journey. You can't just think it away. You can't swipe it away. We signed up for in our higher self where we came in, and we don't want to rob ourselves of that journey. It's a beautiful path through faith, healing, life purpose. First, we acknowledge our wounds, have the compassion, the forgiveness, and then the release. But what happened, we got into the pandemic, and this is clear from Spirit, it's a download. And I've been watching it myself, but what happened is the pandemic came, people started healing, getting in their wounds, and then this healing became an industry, not a service, which you've heard me talk about before. And what Spirit shows is that it's almost like people started getting uncomfortable with their own wounds, maybe self-worth or, you know, all kinds of other stuff, and seeing, hey, you know, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon of this, you know, mindset or life coaching and stuff like that. And Spirit told people in sessions over and over that I was witness to, you're not ready. You don't know how to lead people all the way across the bridge because you haven't yet experienced your own way there. You haven't followed the path of healing, so that you can, in earnest, in service to the highest good of the people that that are coming and relying on you. You don't know yet. So you're either gonna, you know, people are gonna follow you to the middle of the bridge, and when you get there, you're either gonna have to lie, or you're gonna have to be honest and say, I don't know, this is as far as I've gotten. And that's not happening, right? You don't have to be completely healed, but you do have to at least, like, you know, understand, right? That compassion is, you know, we need what we never got, right? In order to heal, we have to give this to ourselves. And it's fascinating now to see that there's this analogy for me. It's not an analogy. This is what has happened when I was a real estate agent, as many of you know. If you didn't, I was a top producing realtor in the Bay Area. And when the real estate market, I was 17 years doing real estate, the real estate market just, we've all heard about it, it's called the .com. It's done that a couple times since this instance, but all of a sudden, like, you could, and it's happening now too, you could literally throw a dart and, like, you know, sell a house or get a seller or find a buyer. There was such a mad dash for it, as there is now in the healing, because we're all wounded and the pandemic has brought this forward. But what happened then is that people who weren't really doing anything, they were still living with their parents, or they were not working, or they didn't have direction or life or anything. They were like, hey, this is like, you can make a ton of money in real estate, right? I'm going to go get my real estate license. And what happened was, because I was there for it, they were leading buyers, predominantly buyers, down a road. They'd never bought a house. Half of them had never even left home, perhaps, or they were renters. They didn't understand what the whole process was. All they knew about was that they were going to get a big commission check. So they gave people the wrong guidance. They hooked up with mortgage brokers who didn't have the highest good, or care for the people taking out loans. And what happened when that exploded was that all those people that had bought homes ended up having to foreclose and everything, and people lost everything. Their animals were like, it was a shit show, much like that's happening now, and then those people went back to, they disappeared. That's the point, is like everybody who came on when there was money in it with zero effort and zero give a shit about what people bought or whatever. It was more about them, and it hurt a lot of people. And I'm seeing a lot of people being hurt right now by people who have jumped in on this industry, who I'm seeing there's amazing people out there as well, very heart-centered, very gifted, connected to their gifts. Let's say we're all gifted, but we're all not meant to be healers or transformation leaders and all those other things. It's like Spirit showed this analogy, which I'm going to put a little picture up of that, like, it's like a ghost town. Like, what happened to everybody that's doing something else? Like, what happened to I showed up in this image to go get a bagel. I go out to the bagel shop and I'm like looking through the window, hey, knocking on the door, and there's a sign hanging on the door that says like Gone Life Coaching. Like people are literally abandoning what could be their life purpose. Because not everyone's life purpose is to be part of healing. You can heal in other ways. Love people unconditionally. Show compassion. Like, that's healing. But there's so much information being given to people who really need help right now. And there's a barrage of information coming at people like from everywhere that is not being given by people who really don't embody the experience or the knowledge. They're gathering it, they're information gathering, and they are brilliant perhaps at creating something that looks like they can actually lead, and they can. And it is hurting people, and it's not right. And the ship has to right itself because we're off course. And there is always choice, right? There's always choice. We can get off course. And we're about to explode again here now because we're still not getting it, right? Now the industry's moving towards compassion and empathy because they're realizing, hey, what about all the people that got hurt from the life coaching and the mindset stuff? What happened to them? Like, now we're realizing, oh gosh, in order to heal and vibrate and release illness from our body, we have to actually heal because our soul said we wanted to, and that's by design, and that's the purpose of every illness. It's the purpose of all of this, is that we connect to our guides. This is the time to do it, to come in and be in your own journey with yourself, your soul, your physical body, connected to your guides, connected to God, connected to the angels. And when you do connect to that, it's for you. It's for you first and foremost. And when you ask to be led to your purpose, you will be. And if you have a reverence for your soul on that level, that you want to find your way to purpose, you will. But please be on the path, follow the path. And if you are guided to heal other people or teach other people, of course, it always has to come from compassion because people have been through some hard shit. You can't just make yourself get over it and push people to do that, because every soul has experienced something different. everyone's got to heal in a different way. There's a different recipe for everybody. So this cookie cutter mindset, pushing people and all these things, that lets me know, the Spirit, and I know, because I know I went through my own healing, and I understand clearly what it takes. It's the only way I found my way here. And it's the only, I don't teach anything that I haven't watched Spirit do with other people. So ask yourself, do you have compassion for yourself before you start leading people? Do you know what that feels like? Do you know what it feels like to forgive yourself and have compassion and fall in love with yourself, and then and connect to your guides and feel the love? Do you know what that feels like? Because if you are just leaping off now into compassion or empathy training or whatever it is without having an understanding for what that feels like, you cannot lead other people to it. And it isn't right, because people are depending on you. People are depending on you. People are in pain. And right now, we either have to start caring more about that than ourselves, or we're about to go through another huge shit show, and you can already feel it on the planet. It is palpable. So, and then lastly, I share my, I guess frustration maybe with how much people are taking content, making it their own. Just like the river meditation that came through 2 weeks ago with this mad scramble, scratching for relevance and worth. And in this industry, everybody's in this same river thinking there's not enough for everybody, that somehow we have to push and scratch and this and be something we're not. And yes, I have frustration about, and I share that people take my content all the time. People reword, steal, whatever. And it's not about me. And people think, oh, you have to just let it go. It's like, it's frustrating for me, because that lets me know that, hey, if you had your own divine connection to Spirit, and you were heart led and connected and guided to be doing what you were doing, you'd have your own messages coming forward, and you wouldn't have to take other people's stuff. So because of you have to take other people's stuff, that means you don't embody it. You're not possessing it yourself. You don't have it, or you wouldn't be taking it. And therefore, you're hurting people by leading them to believe that you do. And I'm not cool with it. Spirit's not cool with it anymore. That's why the bottom's about to fall out again. But guess what? All the people whose life purpose is this and are meant to be standing solid on the shore when this tidal wave goes back out will be. So get right with yourself. Start the actual healing and have people's best and highest good in your heart before stepping into this work, because you are going to have to intuit what you're going to have to get. You call it intuition, but you are going to have to get from source and that person's guides. What is it that they need? What do they need? They don't need some cookie cutter thing that pushes them into a space that they can't be in, because then they start hating themselves. So this is a passionate message. Way too long for all the people that say this is too much for social media. But you know what? This is how I tell stories, and this is how I get the message across. It's straight from the heart, and it's really important information right now. And I really hope that everybody hears it the way that it's intended. And if I've offended you, there's probably a reason for that, right? So anyway, there's my part 2, and I would love some feedback if you feel like it. If not, thank you so much for listening.